Hi all, Bones here from BSA Bantams, and as you can see, race bike work's done and we're now back into getting this pastoral done. We've just had a bike in today, a D1 Bantam for a service. The guy brings it to me every year to have a look over. A couple of little niggly problems there, but nothing too much. A couple of hours work and all done. So we've completed a full engine rebuild on the bike. Bottom end was shot, so luckily enough I had a second-hand crank there, so we've dropped that in. Other than that, everything actually went together pretty well. There was one gear that was shredded. The 19-tooth lay shaft gear was pretty damaged, so we replaced that as well. But other than that, just bearing seals and the normal run-of-the-mill stuff. The bore, piston, everything was really good. I'd say it's been rebored and not really run for a long time, but it's all well. So what we've been up to, we've just completed all our wiring, pastorals. They were direct lighting configuration, so we've done that. We're just getting our loom all squared away, but we're going to put our chain guard side covers and all that on so we can start cable tying off all our cables and make it look nice and neat. So we'll get into that. So as you can see, chain guard's on. The extra little panel that goes underneath the chain guard is also on. So now it's time to attack the side covers in the centerpiece. Rightio, as you can see, we've got the CDI unit in. I haven't put the cover on yet, but I will in a minute. And we've got the centre panel and the side covers on, so we're able to route our wiring around these. So I'll take around the other side and I'll show you what we've done with the wiring loom. Right, it's a little bit hard to see, but basically we've utilised the original cloth covered cable to run through into the headlight, and we've picked it up in our loom in here. So that's our CDI box coil. The excess of our kill switch all cable tied up there, and that's all hidden by the fuel tank. So spy wrap on it, so there's no chafing or anything like that on the fuel tank. We've utilised the original earth wire. We've changed the polarity of the engine to negative earth, and that way if the customer ever wants to put LED lighting in, he can. But generally, if you do LED lighting, you need a battery in circuit. So, problems with the front brake. As you can see, we're at full adjustment out. Brake arms have only got the square on them, not the star shape like the D1s, and we are dragging the brake badly. So what I'm doing now is just turning it around to get some witness markings on the brake shoes. I'll pull it off. And as you remember, I had to machine the shoes on the rear brake, so I may have to do it on this, I think. I'll have a look at where the wear marks are on the brake shoes, set up the backing plate, give the brake shoes a skin, because that's obviously no good whatsoever. So I've disconnected the cable, I've backed off the nut for the backing plate. And the wheel spins freely. So what I'm going to do now is go for an adjustment, and it may be that I have to put a spacer in the cable up here to get the right position, but it's definitely not the brakes binding. And what we may also have to do is, once I do that backing plate nut up, you can sort of twist it a bit, so I'll probably end up putting a washer behind it just to space it out to keep this backing plate nice and square and keep my brake shoes nice and square. Because if you look at the gap in the front of the backing plate here and around the back, there's probably a couple of mil difference. So I'll see how that goes. I'll have a bit more of a play. And actually, if you look, I don't know, you won't be able to pick it up on the camera, but there's a line there where once everything's clamped up, the actual wheel has been hitting the backing plate. But we've only got that much trouble and the brakes are on. So I'll do a cable adjustment and see how we go. So I'm just going to draw your attention to wheel spins nice and freely. But the backing plate, once I do this retaining nut up, doesn't sit square. So I've got two options. I can either go inside and put a spacer between the backing plate on the inside and the retaining nut here, or I can make a spacer up and put it between the anti-torque and the brake backing plate. And I think that's what I'll do, because I know all my components on the inside of the brake hub are right, and if I start adding anything in here, it actually will spread your forks a bit. So I'm going to measure up with some feeler gauges and make a spacer up that's the right width and put it in there, and I'll see how I go. The other thing is the actual brake arm. I still haven't got enough. You can either go in that position there or that position there, and I really need to be in between. So what I'm going to end up doing is probably filing out a square on the inside of this. Now you've got to remember too, all the D1s, they actually have like a double square setup, so you can have more adjustment. But the only other option is to get it to fit is to machine your brake linings down, which is not what I want to do, because then the customer's, you know, losing some of his brake lining. So that's about its neutral set there, and as you can see, the brake's dragging. So I think I'll just file a square in there. Right, a little bit glary, but something that dawned on me, we've still got these front brake problems, was that when we picked this bike up, it never had a front brake cable on it. So in the neutral position, the wheel will spin, but as soon as you apply any minute amount on the brake lever and the brake backing plate, the brakes come on. So I'm wondering if they've been rebonded. You can see the rivets in there, and I'm just wondering if they're just a bit too big. So I've got another set of brake pads there that I'm going to fit up, and I'm going to do a measurement. Now, yes, I could machine those linings off, but the big telltale for me is those brass rivets. So this has the potential to possibly contain asbestos, and there is no way known I'm going to machine that. Rightio. So what's happened? If you have it on the normal brake lever on the normal setting with the brake shoes in, you haven't got enough length of cable before it starts actuating on the brake. We've changed the brake shoes over, and I've actually had this issue before. My thoughts are it's the thickness of the bonding on the linings of the brake shoe caused the problem. So what I've done is filed another square in it, so that looks like the D1 brake levers are like that. So we can reposition this. So once we reposition it, we run out of cable adjustment. So, but it does work. The wheel rotates and you can pull the brake on, no worries, and it works really well. So I'll show you what we're going to do. So there's our cable adjuster, and the background noise is Justin's currently on the lathe. And what we're going to do is make a spacer just to space that cable up a bit, so we can utilise the adjustment on this screw to get the brake into adjustment. There's a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, as I said, on the normal setting, the brakes are dragging badly, but it also means that once this runs out of travel, you can take the brake adjuster, the spacer out, reposition your brake arm down here, and you can utilise all the width of the bonding on your brake linings. So we're just making that up now, and we'll see how that goes. Alright, you can see our cable adjuster there, and what Justin's just whipped up is a spacer. Which will go in there and reposition the cable. So now, front wheel back in. Hopefully we've got our measurements right and it all works.
Good.
Alright, we're still persisting. Now earlier on today, I don't know whether I said or not, but I actually made a spacer to go in behind this because when you do up this nut on the anti-rotation, it pulls it out of square. Now if you look at the run out in that brake backing plate, your wheel is rotating around that and when the brake pads come on, it's trying to straighten it up and get it all square. So I'm actually going to I made that earlier on, but I've actually got to make a thicker one. I jammed a wedge in there to square up this plate, and it needed exactly 1/8 of an inch. So I'll take, just set it on there. If you also look at this, that brake backing plate's been contacting around the hub. So something's not quite right here. We've had a bit of a ding or something like that. But anyway, we'll keep persisting, but it's not right at the moment. And it's been a bit of a bugger of a day because it's been 35 today, so a bit warm in the shed. Alright, so front brake issue is now sorted. And that will be the last we do on this D7 Pastoral for probably a month. We won't see any more footage of this. And the reason for that is we're getting ready to go away to South Australia for a Bantam muster over in Echunga on the first weekend of March. So they're hoping to break the world record for the most amount of BSA Bantams in the one spot at the one time. So if you are interested and you're in Adelaide, you can see the bikes at the All British Day on the Sunday at Echunga. On the Saturday, there's a group of us riding from Harndorf up to Birdwood Museum, and we'll be arriving around lunchtime. So if you're anywhere around Birdwood, you can come and check out all the bikes up there. The following weekend, which I think is the 11th and 12th of March, it's Selix Beach. So if you're interested in old bikes, I mean, that's the spot to go. So no bike built after 1963, 1 mile course on the beach, half a mile down, round a barrel, half a mile back. Bikes up to 1300 cc's and they fairly fly. So if you're anywhere near there, it'd be good to check it out. The race bike, Justin and I took it out today to a secret location, we'll call it, to give it a run to do its final plug chop. I couldn't get up to top speed on my road because it's deteriorated badly to be able to do a proper plug chop. So that went really well, and we're pretty happy. So that bike's been picked up by the owner in a couple of days, and he'll transport it over to South Australia. So obviously I can race it. The weekend after Selix Beach, we've also got the British Two-Stroke Club of Australia rally. So we're away for the 3 weekends. I'll be putting the Bantam, one of my Bantams, actually into the caravan. I might show you some footage of that later, how we achieved that, but we're working on it. It'll work. So that's the way we'll be carting one of the bikes around. So if you want to have a look at some footage of the race bike onboard footage and some of the footage Justin took, hang around after this. But to all my subscribers, thank you very much, and I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. And so from BSA Bantams, we'll see you later.